The following program is the work of the broadcast students at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland which were produced over the last week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine, promoting safety on the streets.
Turning to campus in the fall.
How musicians are finding their own way.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Justin Waddell.
And I'm Kameela Nash. Let's find out what's going on around the Lower Mainland this week.
A Burnaby woman has created a website to fight back against anti-Asian hate crimes. My co-anchor Kameela Nash spoke with the founder about what they're doing to empower the community.
Carmina Cordero felt frustrated, not only with the steep rise in anti-Asian hate crimes, but with the search for resources to help communities combat those crimes. She took it upon herself to launch the Born Chinese online initiative.
I think sometimes it's that spreading awareness is, yes, we are spreading awareness within our own community, but sometimes it doesn't reach to the broader community that also needs to know about these incidents that are occurring in our city.
Born Chinese displays a simple, easy-to-find list of available resources and information. One of those resources includes Eliminate Hate. Eliminate Hate provides an anonymous report site to empower victims of anti-Asian hate crimes.
We've experienced racism for so long that, a lot of it has now become internalized. And so is it worth our energy to put ourselves out there and to report?
The Vancouver Police Department released a statistic showing that there was a 717% increase in hate crimes towards the Asian community. Though the pandemic may be the reason for this increase, Tanaka explains that this has been a problem for a long time.
Personally, I can say as a Japanese Canadian, we heard for many years that Japanese Canadians didn't fight or protest against the Japanese Canadian internment. And I was told that no one fought for justice, and it's not true. It's just we've been silenced.
That silence was echoed when speaking with shop owners in Vancouver's Chinatown. Many shared their experiences of theft and verbal assault, but feared their safety when asked to be recorded. Cordero hopes that Born Chinese will empower others to speak up.
Like you reach to the point that, you can no longer stand in silence, and you really need to start thinking about ways to help, bring the community together, and not just the Asian community, but, everybody else to understand that, these instances are happening and it's okay to speak up.
Kameela Nash in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
A recent viral video of a stalking incident has prompted widespread conversations about the safety of women in their communities. Reporter Robin Horner has the details.
It began here, in the Tinseltown neighborhood. A young woman followed for 30 minutes at close range by a man who would not leave her alone. Since the incident was caught on camera and shared widely, women have taken to social media to express their concern over a lack of safety.
Everybody is just kind of very on edge and scared for this. Like I haven't even gone for a walk in about a week. I am that terrified to leave my house.
It's a sentiment shared by women across the city. In an Instagram poll of 115 self-identified women and femmes, 114 said they feel less safe after last week's stalking incident. Women in the same area have similar thoughts. When folks of all genders were polled on Instagram, 120 out of 126 also said the police aren't doing enough.
And yet somehow a woman was followed for 30 minutes. Like, I don't know what else they could do, but they could definitely do more.
The Abbotsford police say there's no substantiated reason to be nervous, and social media is a big driving factor behind fear.
Other thing we should remember is that if you're going to be attacked or hurt by somebody, it's probably going to be somebody that you know. stranger attacks are not common.
As for advice for anyone feeling like they're being followed or harassed,
Always, before posting on social media, for sakes, call the police.
much like the men at the skate park who encouraged the young woman to seek shelter with them, women say they just want to see the men they love show up for them. Robin Horner in Vancouver for BCIT News.
Reporter Robin Horner joins us now. Robin, has any progress been made in the search for the suspect in the stalking incident?
Well, the Vancouver Police Department released a statement on March 20th saying they had a suspect in custody related to the stalking incident after a separate assault downtown. But the woman from the initial incident says it's not the right man.
What are some suggestions for staying safe in your neighborhood?
Well, advocacy groups suggest letting someone know where you're going, what time you'll arrive, and offering safe rides and safe walks home to your friends so that we can keep each other safe. Back to you.
Thank you, Robin.
The federal New Democrats have unveiled their plan to tackle student debt in Canada. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh says they could cancel up to $20,000 in student debt. The party also supports putting a moratorium on student loan payments during the pandemic.
Post-secondary students are expected to return to campus this fall after a suggestion from the provincial health officer. Our reporter Jordan Nelson takes a look at how this will affect students.
Through the beginning here, just some
It has almost been a year since a large majority of students were forced to transition to online school, and that may come to an end in September if the province's plan goes ahead. Jonathan West says he actually enjoyed the transition to online lectures.
For me, I like the online learning because I just like being on a video call. I'm not the type of person to be sitting in class and I'm kind of a really awkward person when it comes to sitting in class and try raising your hand.
West still does some schoolwork on campus because it is necessary for his course.
It's 50-50, so we do have lectures online. So, for example, if I'm on air, I would just have my laptop over here and I'll have a Zoom lecture running while I'm producing my sportscast.
Earlier this month, Dr. Bonnie Henry announced that all post-secondary institutions should be prepared to return to campus this fall. West says he thinks the transition back to on-campus class for everyone will be smooth. He credits BCIT for the job they have done at making campus safe for everyone. The chairperson for the British Columbia Federation of Students says that most students struggled adapting to online learning.
I think talking to most all students, they would say that the transition to online learning has been pretty rough. For those that were in school when the pandemic first hit, that transition happened over the course of 3 days over a weekend. So it's not a lot of time to wrap your head around it and figure it out.
With the current rise in BC COVID cases against a backdrop of vaccinations, there are still too many variables over the coming months to guarantee a return to campus. For now, it's just an expectation. Jordan Nelson in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
The BC government has approved a pilot project for e-scooters in 6 municipalities. The program will be tested in Vancouver, the North Shore, Kelowna, and Vernon. Before these municipalities launch the pilot project, they must pass their own bylaws on where the scooters can be used.
Coming up after the break, high school athletes jump through hoops.
Have the Canucks been put on ice?
Hi, I'm Zach Kedash. And I'm Justin Park. Welcome to this week's edition of BCIT's Community Calendar, March 25th, 2021. Spring has officially sprung on BCIT's Burnaby campus. The weather's getting nicer, the days are getting longer. It's the perfect time of year to get outside. And there's a lot of spring activities for you and your family to do in the Lower Mainland. Here are just a few of them. Easter egg hunts can be hungry work. If you find yourself in Abbotsford on April 3rd or 4th, check out the Greater Vancouver Food Truck Festival for a special drive-in event. They'll be serving Canadian classics such as pierogies or beaver tails in addition to international favorites. Now we all know in April, the Lower Mainland gets its fair share of rainy days, so if you want a safe, indoor activity with tons of open space, consider going to the Imagine Van Gogh exhibition. It's running from now all the way until August 29th. It'll be a great immersive experience for the family.
Spring is the perfect time to get out into nature in beautiful British Columbia, and there's no better way to do that than by going for a hike. VancouverTrails.ca has a complete database of every hike from the North Shore to Langley with information including maps, difficulty, and length.
Thanks for watching this week's Community Calendar. I'm Zach Kedash. And I'm Justin Park. Here's to hoping for some great weather.
The pandemic caused widespread cancellations for high school sports. Senior basketball players have been forced to find new ways to get to the next level. Aaron Rempel passes us the ball.
Over spring break, the grounds of Walnut Grove High School in Langley were quiet. But inside, the girls' division of the Gators basketball team are fine-tuning their skills, prepping for a college career.
For some of my Zoom calls, it's just been me and the head coach. But for ones for universities are really serious about me, there's usually the assistant coaches there and the head coach, and sometimes they have a player, one of their top players on the Zoom call.
Since COVID foiled their 2020 game season, these players are competing for a place on post-secondary teams. One option for Taylor is the Ryerson Rams in Toronto.
But it's just sending out stuff, them sending emails back, and then once we can play, hopefully next year, there might be some say about us playing maybe around our district.
Despite the cancellations of the past year, spirits are not crushed. The athletics director has seen this firsthand.
Those kids deserve the credit. They're still here. I get here often 7 in the morning, and sometimes some of them are in the gym before I get here. They're here at 6:30 in the morning, shooting the ball on their own, getting better, even without a season this year.
The boys and girls who reach the top level A of varsity players have a good chance to make it into colleges like the University of Calgary. A former coach says there are ways to keep fighting in the face of adversity.
Worst 2 words are I can't. So don't ever go there with me.
Walnut Grove Gators players that advance beyond high school can look forward to the Can West Championship Games, which could return in September according to the organization. I'm Aaron Rempel in Langley for BCIT Magazine.
Fraser Health has opened 5 immunization clinics with 4 more on the way. These clinics are meant to better distribute vaccines to prevent overcrowding. Chilliwack, Cloverdale, South Surrey, North Delta, and Coquitlam will be accepting appointment bookings starting March 29th.
The Canucks have had their ups and downs this season. Reporter Ethan Johannes sits down with Canucks writer Matthew Zader to discuss their play through the first half of the shortened season.
I'm joined by Matthew Zader, a lead writer for the HockeyWriters.com. Thanks for joining us, Matt. My first question to you is the Canucks saw a lot of losses at the beginning of their season, but they've now won 8 of their last 11 games. Do you see this as a turning point for them?
I don't know if it's a turning point. I think, they're playing a lot better, I guess, than earlier in the season when they were giving up so many odd man rushes and stuff. But I don't know. It's going to be an uphill battle for the rest to make the playoffs, that's for sure.
Thatcher Demko has been a real bright spot for the Canucks this season as he sits 3rd in the NHL in save percentage. What do you think Patrick Demko's ceiling is as an NHL player, and how has he affected the Canucks so far?
I think he's a number 1 for sure. He's a starting goaltender. I think he's going to be an elite starting goaltender. He's still young. The thing is they're going to have to sign him. And just like Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson, they're having to sign these guys to long-term contracts. And they're going to have to fit all 3 under the cap, which is going to be really hard to do.
Aside from Demko, what are some other players you've been impressed with this season? And what are some players that you wish you could have seen more from?
I love Nils Höglander, how he's played all year from training camp, from the first game. He's been pretty consistent with his forechecking, with his his energy level has been really good. So I think Höglander definitely has been one of the bright spots all season. Brock Besser's been amazing. He's scoring goals again at the same clip he was in his rookie season, which is great. Guys that I think haven't really stepped up this season is Jake Virtanen, and he's had his moments, but I think he just hasn't had enough of them. And I think he's going to end up being traded by probably the end of the season.
Over the last year, the Canucks have shown a lack of direction. Do you believe the Canucks should be rebuilding, selling, or buying?
I think, it depends on how many more games they lose here. I think they're going to probably end up being sellers in the end. I think they should be sellers.
I'd like to thank our guest Matthew Zader for joining us today, and let's hope the Canucks can put a few more wins on the board for the rest of the season.
Local musicians have been looking for new ways of making a living since the pandemic put many out of business. My co-anchor Justin Waddell finds out how they're playing their own tune.
I'm here.
Tanner Reed has had a tough time paying the bills after the record industry crashed and the pandemic closed live venues.
There's going to be a lot of changes happening to how music gets distributed and how people get their fix.
The Vancouver Musicians Association are helping members get their music heard.
There have been some online streamed shows, but they haven't been happening nearly as often as in-person shows used to, and it's a lot harder to make money off of them.
Artists have been turning to social media to help promote their debut albums.
For my solo album, I'm definitely getting onto all the social medias, even like TikTok. I've been using that, and it's actually getting me quite a bit of views on my music.
Websites like Bandcamp share more of the income with the artists.
Most people choose to pay, and the artist gets, I believe, at least 75% of the revenue.
While there's some concern some of the venues won't make it through the pandemic, musicians are hopeful for the future of the industry.
People love shows. The pandemic won't be forever. I mean, I'm hoping. But people are going to get back to shows as soon as they can. And even if there's going to be changes, the people are going to still come.
For Reed, the scene is slow, but the song isn't over yet. Justin Waddell in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
If you have any questions regarding the show, you can contact us at bcit-broadcast.com or bcitnews.com. Thanks for watching BCIT Magazine. I'm Kameela Nash.
And I'm Justin Waddell. We'll see you all next week.